this is Nicholas Montez here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Nicholas Montez. Welcome back to another YouTube channel, everybody. I'm so excited to have you all back here together again. And in today's video, we'll be discussing a very important topic. So, for all you guys do not know, today was my last day of school, and also tomorrow starts the first day of summer for me. But we still have some stuff going, but I know this is kind of weird to do, but I wanted to do this for a long time, and I had this planned in the future to rank all the movies that I watched, the new releases that I watched in spring of 2021. So basically, here's how it's gonna work. Basically, it's gonna be the movie that I start off with my spring break, and then it's gonna be to the last day of school. So March 18th with Zack Snyder's Justice League to June 9th with Sprint Untamed, because, you know, that's like the last new release I'll be watching before I watch the next one Friday, which is Awake. But with that said, let's get started talking about all 12 of these films, and let's kick off the spring movie season with these new releases. Now, Thunder Force I was kind of excited for this movie, but secretly deep down by the trailers, it seemed like it was gonna be like probably a bad superhero film, or probably just an immature film that just likes to have fun. And this was not that. So, this movie is just plain out bad. It's probably one of the worst movies this year. The certain premise of these heroes just does not work. And one of the things that makes this film so bad is Melissa McCarthy, where Melissa McCarthy tends to have good roles. She tends to be in really good comedies, but this is easily one of her worst films that I've seen of hers, at least, because her performance is just so weird in the way she acts in the film, and especially the way she does that with Jason Bateman, and the way she has like, "Ooh, let me butter you because you're the crab." Like, this is just so awkward, but it's kind of funny at the same time a little bit. And then like she makes a big deal about eating like raw meat, and I'm like, this is just disgusting and awkward, and like the whole mix does not work. So her performance was just out of place. And then they make this whole scene where they're trying to say Thunder Force, and I'm like, why do they keep doing that? Just, what's going on here? So I thought that was kind of weird. So the whole mix of everything just felt kind of awkward. It didn't feel new or anything in any sense. A couple things I did like some of the action sequences and some of the superhero sacrifices, which are stuff you would see in a superhero film. But other than that, this is easily my least favorite movie of the summer movie season of new releases of 2021. Now, Those Who Wish Me Dead, I actually do kind of like. I thought that the way they did the relationship between Angelina Jolie and the little kid, I thought that relationship worked really nicely. It felt like a very cool mother and son relationship. That was probably the best part about the movie. And then there's also some really cool action sequences, especially when you get to the end of it, where Angelina Jolie and the kid beat up Nicholas Hoult. And there are some pretty cool visuals, especially with the flashbacks of the forest fires, as well as when the forest fires happen. So there's some pretty good stuff in here. And then Angelina Jolie kind of has an arc where she's kind of triggered by these forest fires. So she has sort of an arc in there, but the specific story of it all just does not really work for me. I don't really think. There's just a couple of things that just kind of bother me, like, why is Nicholas holding this other guy after the father? Why is he after Angelina Jolie? And why was Angelina Jolie why was she gonna get arrested for, like doing the flying thing? Like, she didn't do anything illegal. So, I feel like I have a little bit more problems than pros on this movie, but I still enjoyed it though. So if you don't know, Spirit Untamed, I actually just watched last week, so if you want to check out my review, it's on my channel now. If you want to go see my DreamWorks ranking, then it's also on my channel right now. Well, you'll just see the ranking, not really me talking about the films, because I had trouble doing that. But talking about Spirit Untamed, as this was one of those films that I was preparing for a long time, since January, it definitely does kind of live up to the stuff you were excited for when the film was announced. Of course, the animation, as it is a sequel to a cartoon movie, it definitely has, it's not like, it's very different from the animation style we saw in that film. It does it in its own way of the animation style, so I love the animation. I mean, it's not like animation that's gonna win an Oscar or anything, but as a whole, the animation is pretty beautiful. There's just some beautiful sights in it, and I like it. And it also just has some pretty cool comedic characters, especially with the Abigail girl, as well as her little brother with the donkey. Like, they're the scene stealers in this film, and I love that. And like, they bring the table to the show. And also, it also has some pretty cool It also has some pretty cool relationships, especially with the main girl daughter and her father. And it also just has a really good spectrum theme about never giving up. So there's a couple things in there that I do like. But on the negatives, I just don't think that the way they told the story was particularly very well. Because, first off, when you start out the film, they literally start out the film with giving this backstory of the daughter's mom. She used to ride horses, but that's all we know. We don't really know how she died until later in the movie. And then once you get to the present day, they do all these weird jokes. People get food in their face, and it's just so awkward. And all the characters are doing awkward stuff and saying all these awkward lines, and then and then for some reason, Spirit and the girl somehow have this relationship, and she wants to try to be friends with him or something. And it's I don't really understand why they want to be friends. He's just a wild horse. I mean, I understand because he doesn't seem that mean, but who knows? But overall, it's still an enjoyable movie. I probably would bump my score down to a C+ or so, maybe. Probably keep it the same, but that's my little review of Spirit Untamed. Now, Mortal Kombat is definitely a film that, if you're a fan of action films or just films that take you out of this world, you're definitely going to want to see this movie because this film is really good. The action is probably some of the best action I've seen in a movie this year. Probably more than Raya and the Last Dragon, because Raya and the Last Dragon is just unbelievable of what they did with the story, the characters, the animation, the action. Everything about that film is really good. But this movie just handles the action in so many cool ways. Even the scenes from the trailers you like, and they even hide some fights that you didn't see in the trailers, and they save it for the film, and I like the way they did that. Another thing that I liked, I also liked some of the characters. Now, some characters, it's kind of the problem with the film. They don't really have that much depth. None of them really have any arcs. But I will say this: Kano and Sub-Zero were probably the scene stealers of the film. Sub-Zero was just always beating someone up, killing someone, and then Kano was the one that always said these funny one-liners and stuff, and the one that always wanted to fight. And then also, it has some pretty good characters, like Jax, where he has the arc of his arms getting ripped off by Sub-Zero, and then he gets robotic arms, and then part of his arc is that his arms become bigger, so now he's able to fight. So that's fun. But some of the storytelling is kind of weak a little bit, especially when they I wanted to see more mythology, because all we just see is the mythology painted on a wall. And I mean, Lord Raiden, I wish he was a bit more in the action side, because he's such a cool character to do stuff like that. But overall, it has some good stuff, cool characters, cool action, pretty much everything I want. But at the same time, I really want a little bit more. So hopefully we get a sequel to this movie. Now, Monster, I actually really did like this film. Of the films that I saw this month, of this year, Judas and the Black Messiah, Concrete Cowboy, and then Monster, as these films explore black people's lives, it does a very good. This movie continues that genre, where we get to see more of what black people go through. Except this movie does it in a very different style, where it's basically a court case where people are trying to figure out, was this kid part of this robbery or not? And the answer is no, he wasn't. But I think it explores it in very cool ways, where you get to see different parts of these interviews with different people. You get to see different black people's lives and stuff like that. And you also get to see even though he's in jail, you still gotta catch up with your studies. And that's interesting. That's interesting stuff to do in a film like this. But the specific story of it just doing a court case, I'm not the biggest fan of, because it literally just ends with the court case being solved. But other than that, this is still a pretty good movie. Now, this movie, I honestly really liked. Now, it's not a great movie. I still would give it a B-, but this movie has so many good things in it. From the cast with Wyatt Russell, Amy Adams, Anthony Mackie. The cast is just a great cast with all these different great actors. And of course, Billy Bobby Brown from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Child's Play 2019, and Godzilla vs. Kong. And I believe some other movies too, but I don't remember. This movie is really good. The way it does the thriller vibes work so nicely, and that you can feel it. Another thing I liked about the film, it just has some, I love Amy Adams' performance in this film, because, she thinks she's having hallucinations, and it makes her character a lot more interesting when you think that she's having hallucinations and all of this stuff. So, there's a lot of cool stuff in this film, especially with Amy Adams. But the whole twist at the end, I never really was the biggest fan of, when Ethan turns out he was the bad guy. But this is a really good film, and the thriller vibes, your heart starts kind of racing when the music comes on. So it has some pretty good stuff. Now, Army of the Dead, this is a film that I personally really enjoyed. Of course, the zombie action was on spot. I absolutely loved all the action sequences, especially when they fight in that bank and the money just starts exploding all over the place. That is just probably one of the best scenes of the entire film. It really just has some pretty cool character arcs within the film. You actually have depth to the characters, especially with Dave Bautista and his daughter. It's a really cool arc. And then there's just some pretty fun characters where you have that kid that's just scared of zombies. And of course, that's natural in a film like this that is all about killing zombies in a zombie apocalypse film. But the specific story, the way it kind of goes is I feel like they spend more time on planning than doing the actual plan to take out the zombies. But other than that, this is still a really enjoyable movie, and also the soundtrack for Las Vegas is just really good, especially with that opening sequence. So I do like this movie, but it has a couple of issues though. Now, Stowaway, I actually did like this film. It's not a great movie, but it is a pretty good film. The cast is of course really good with Anna Kendrick and the guy that played King Benja in Raya and the Last Dragon, which when I saw the movie I was like, he sounds familiar, and then I was like, oh, so he's the dad from Raya and the Last Dragon. So that's cool. And it really just has like all the characters really just have this great relationships together, and especially the Stowaway that we actually see in the film really has kind of like this depth, this arc. And all the characters really have there's all these stakes going on and all these missions, and I love the way they did all this film, and the space world just looks really cool, and it kind of it makes you feel like you are in space. So I think that is really cool about the film. But it does have some story issues a little bit. It doesn't really explain why they're there, but other than that, this is still a pretty good film. Now this film I actually did like. Once again, as I talked with Monster, this is another one of those films that continues the black people world nicely. But in this time, instead of it handling in the Black Panther Party and handling in a court case in prison, this film handles it with black people westerns, and I kind of like that, where they explore black people in the western lives. Like, you get to see them sing songs. You get to see what they do with cows. You get to see different parts of their lives, and it's really interesting. And then, of course, the big thing that puts it on top is the son kind of mad about that he's going to be with his dad, with Idris Elba, and that kind of what puts the film on top for me. So, great interpretation of black people westerns, of their lives, as well as a father and son relationship. Godzilla vs. Kong is easily one of the most surprising films of this year. Well, not surprising, but it's really, really good. Of course, this film really gives you all the action that you want, from the boat sequence, from King Kong fighting bird-like creatures, and then you get the final battle where King Kong and Godzilla fight each other, and the battles are just amazing. They look so good, especially how it's CGI, when it just looks so real. And then like some of the characters, like the little girl, I actually like her because she has this interesting arc with King Kong, as he can communicate with him. She can communicate with him, so I like that. And some of the other characters, once again, like Kong Skull Island, they're basically like paper-thinned characters. And some of the, I rewatched it a second time, like 2 months ago, and I gotta say, I can agree with you with the humans, but I still kind of enjoy them because they are funny, especially with Billy Bobby Brown. But overall, this is a film that has some really good stuff. A Quiet Place Part 2 is easily one of the best films of this entire year. Once again, what the first film did so well is exploring this family and this world in their day-to-day lives, what they do in order to stay safe during this little alien sound apocalypse. This film, it does that, but it does it in a new way where they explore the lives of other people. Like, you get the guy from the baseball game, and then you get the you get the other people that were on the island that put the Beyond the Sea song. And I thought that was very cool. And then of course the jump scares are just, oh my gosh. John Krasinski made such a great film when he directed this. The jump scares are so crazy in this film. At first, the first jump scare, that scared me literally. It did scare me. But then, there's parts of the movie where it's quiet, and then the alien just comes out, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is scary. I mean, this is creepy. So, this is one of the best movies of all time. And then, of course, the characters, of course, the daughter and the guy from the baseball game are, of course, the standouts. And I like how the way they do characters in different ways, because after the first events of the first film, they have to do new things with the characters. So I like the way they did new things with the characters. I am excited. We have heard that we are getting a third movie, so I'm very excited for that. So overall, this is easily one of my favorite movies of the spring movie season of 2021. Now, Zack Snyder's Justice League, when I first heard about this film, I didn't really know what to think about. More likely, when I saw the trailer, I was like, what is this film? It literally just it looks the same, except you're adding Darkseid into it, and Steppenwolf looks different, and the color palette just looks much darker. So what did I think about the film? I thought this movie was a blast. Everything about this film is pretty much better than the original film. Like, mostly every character gets something kind of cool and different. And I would say the best character of the whole film is Cyborg, where he gets this arc with his father, and then you get, with his superhero origin story, you actually care about it. And it's cool and it's great. And then with, Flash, you get like an awesome moment for him, as there's this scene in the film where he turns back time, and every step that he takes is going back in time. And I kind of like the way they do all that. And then of course Aquaman, you kind of care about a little bit more, where, I mean, obviously he doesn't have an arc. He's kind of like the same thing in the original one, but you kind of care about him when he's fighting with the Justice League. And then Wonder Woman, she actually has some pretty cool scenes too, mostly when she fights the people, but she doesn't have anything new in the film. Superman, once again, both these films, I think they do a great job with Superman. But I think Superman is better in this film because, once again, while he does get the awesome fan service moments, he also just has a great arc in the film. And then Batman, of course, he doesn't, once again, he's not one of those characters that does anything new, but obviously when he's fighting the parademons, is of course really cool. And as he's leading the team, it's of course cool. I wanted to see Batman versus Steppenwolf fight. I really want to see that. That's like something I would always want to see, but it doesn't seem like we're going to be getting it, because Batman doesn't seem like that guy to fight guys like that, but we'll see what happens. And then of course the score is amazing, so the action is fantastic. The way they do new scenes, the way they do the scenes in the movie, you actually care for them. And yeah, so this movie just does everything better you loved about the original Justice League, and I love it. It does have some issues here and there, especially with, of course the runtime is a little bit long, and there's probably some other things I could mention, but if you want to go see my review for it, I have it on my channel now. I posted it March 18th, when it was released. But that's my review that is my ranking of all 2021 spring movies. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. My Instagram name is Marvel6, and my TikTok name is Marvel1Fan. If you guys don't understand those names, head to my about section to follow me on all social medias. I'm also on Letterboxd. It's the same as my Instagram, Marvel_6_, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.